to the Aboriginal channel. This episode will be part 3 to the Bible Weaponized, where I'm going to show on the front page how every pillar that makes up the foundation of American Indian culture and spirituality is present on it. In order for me to show you what I mean by that, we must go into the book America, being the latest and most accurate description of the New World, containing the original of the inhabitants and the remarkable voyages there, the conquest of the vast empires of Mexico and Peru, and the other large provinces in the area. I have to go in this book so we can go and find out and see what the pillars of the foundation of the American Indian culture and spirituality is. So right here on page 390, it says, having no knowledge of the true God, they worship what the devil would have them. That is the sun. Now, they did have knowledge of the true God. They called him the Great Spirit or the Great Mystery, but they did have knowledge, so that's a throw off. And then they put the word worship 2 words away from the devil word, so that's another throw off. They want you to think they worshiped something, but really, it says they worship the sun and attributing to it only the increase of their plants, healthful season, and most of the other good things they enjoy or are sensible of. So that right there, the sun, the plants, the healthful seasons, and most of the other good things they enjoy or are sensible of, I will show you is on the very first page of the Bible, right there in the first part of the creation story. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Pause. That's a direct reflection of Indian culture right there, because in Indian culture, the spirit world and the physical world is one and the same. And although Christianity, people like to claim that it's 2 different things, right here in the Bible, like it says the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Elsewhere in the Bible, it mentions things like test the spirits, and the spirits inhabited the wheels that rotated from this way or that way in the book of Ezekiel, etc. So the spirit world and the physical world is one and the same in the Bible context as well. So when the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light and that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. So that's another direct correlation of Indian culture, because in Indian culture, they divide the light from the darkness with mounds and pyramids. Indians seen the light as good and darkness as not good, basically. Say God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Now there was waters of the oceans and waters above the clouds, so when it rains, that water comes down. But moving on, it says, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. So, Paul, God called the firmament heaven. God created light before he created heaven. Light is the sun. Then he goes down and he creates the earth. So it was the sun, the heaven, then earth. And he says, God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. Going back to the book America, and we looking right here where it says they worship the sun, attributing to it only the increase of their plants. So far on the first page of the Bible, mind you, the first page is more impressionable than your first interview or job interview that you don't quite qualify for, so you got to make up in conversation during the interview. Or a comedian's first joke at his first full stage live show. The first page of the Bible was very, very important. If you ever wrote an essay or did writing classes at college, you have an idea of the importance of presentation when it comes to writing. But back to it. So far, we covered the sun and the plants. Getting back over to the first page, though, we on verse 12. It says, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit and whose seed was in itself after this kind, and God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. So right there you got the seasons. Let them be for signs and for seasons. Back in the book, when it was describing the Indians' religion, it says that they worship the sun and attributed to it healthful seasons. Goes on to say that he made the stars also, which is also part of what American Indians were sensible of. They're sensible of stars and the moon and astrology. Now I'm going to just skip down here to the sixth day when God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. So on the sixth day, God said, let the earth bring forth cattle. That cattle is an interesting occurrence right there on the first page of the Bible, because of what's stated here in this article from Neil A. Maxwell Institute for Religious Scholarship, Brigham Young University, Provo, Utah, a nation now extinct, American Indian origin theories as of 1820, says that with the rise of competing economic and nationalistic interests in the New World after the early 1600s. Pause. So the early 1600s is when the King James Version of the Bible was created and brought over to Virginia. It says particularly from England, Holland, and France. So in the early 1600s, competing economic interests in the New World between England, Holland, and France. Holland correlates back to the front page of the Bible, stating that God said, let from the earth come forth all the beasts and the cattle. Right here in an article written by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica says that Holstein Friesian breed of large dairy cattle originated in northern Holland and Friesland. Its chief characteristics are its large size and black and white spotted markings, sharply defined rather than blended. These cattle are believed to have been selected for dairy qualities for about 2,000 years. They have long been widely distributed over the more fertile lowlands of continental Europe, where they are valued highly for their milk production ability. In the United States, the Holstein Friesians outnumber all other dairy breeds and produce 9/10 of the milk supply. The milk, however, has a relatively low butterfat content. It goes on to say that when the colonized New York, they brought their cattle with them. But after the colony was ceded to the British Crown and English settlers brought their own cattle, the Dutch cattle disappeared. The first exportation from Holland to the United States was in 1795, but the largest importations were made between the years 1879 and 1887. So 100 years later is when they were making their largest importations. So on Wikipedia it says buffalo hunting was an activity fundamental to the indigenous peoples, which was later adopted by American professional hunters as well as by the U.S. government to sabotage a central foodstuff of local tribes and force them into reservations, leading to the near extinction of the species around 1890. So the buffalo damn near went extinct by 1890, while the first exportation from Holland to the United States was in 1795, but the largest importations were made between the years 18 and 1887. So while this says it sabotaged a central foodstuff of local tribes and forced them into reservations, it also forced them to eat the cow. Through the history books, which has all been a lie. So therefore, if it's a lie, then what's the truth? If it's a lie,